Alright, yo, what's going on, guys? This is going to be 20 tips for sniping on Modern Warfare. This is also going to be beginner and advanced settings, so whether you're already good at the game or if you're just new to sniping, hopefully these tips will help you either way. Anyways, with that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so tip number one is going to be centering, and honestly, centering is probably one of the most important things when it comes to sniping. You always want to make sure your shot's centered. That way, if you always have somebody centered in the middle of your screen, you're able to ADS and pull the trigger and kill them as quick as possible. Also, when you're running around the map and everything, make sure your shot's just always lined up to shoot to kill. If you've watched a lot of professional players, you'll notice that they always have their center of their screen pretty much lined up. That way they're able to kill the person in front of them as quick as possible. But one thing that does help when it comes to centering is you kind of just want to keep your focus on the middle of the screen. Try to not be looking everywhere on your screen unless it's necessary. If you don't want to flick your centering up, there's windows and stuff, you can check the windows, but other than that, try and keep your focus on the center of your screen. And all right, and then tip number two, we got lead your shots, and this also kind of has to do with centering because you do want to be leading your shot while ADS and with your center of your screen as well. So when you're fully ADS, so you want to make sure your crosshairs are lined up in front of where somebody's running. So if somebody's running to the left, you want to aim more to the left than where they're running. Also, if it's more at close range and you're not fully ADS yet, you want to make sure the center of your screen is lined up in front of where the person is running. That way you're able to pull the trigger, kill them as quick as possible. Then tip number three is going to be movement, using movement when necessary for sure. And also movement has a lot to do with like your sniping style, and it's just going to make your clips look a lot more unique and make your sniping style stand out a lot more. So when you're running around the map, you want to make sure you're using cover. So let's say you got like 4 people lined up in front of you. You want to make sure you're peeking out to kind of shoot someone and then getting back behind cover, peeking out again, shooting them again, you know, rinse and repeat. And then with all that being said, we have tip number 4, and that's find your own unique style of sniping. You really don't want to be mimicking other people's style. Trust me, you'll learn as you go, and as you start to play a lot more and more, you'll start to develop your own style of sniping, and you'll kind of find things that you like about it as well. So don't be going and watching, like, let's say a YouTube video to try and take that exact style of sniping, because it's just not going to fit with your style. And then we got tip number 5 being be confident in your shot. And honestly, this doesn't sound like a big one, but if you're truly confident in your shot, you'll hit a lot more shots. It's kind of just something about your mindset that has to do with it. So if you have a good mindset about your shots and maybe your ego's even up that day, your shot's probably going to be better. But if you're thinking that you're not going to hit the person in front of you, you're second guessing your shots, you're definitely going to end up missing a lot more shots. So trying to have a positive mindset whenever you're not feeling the game and you just notice you aren't playing so well, just get off the game for a little bit, take a break, and then once you're in a better mindset, get back on the game, and trust me, it'll make you feel better overall as well, and you won't rage at the game. So all right, and then we got tip number 6, and this is going to be find a sniper that works best for you. So this is kind of more for people that are newer to sniping, that are just getting into it. So you probably, if you're newer to sniping, then you don't have a sniper that you're really too good with yet. Find one that kind of clicks with your style, that you like a lot, and make sure you stick to that snipe. Don't bounce back between snipers when you're just learning how to snipe. Trust me, to stick with one. Honestly, in my opinion, for starting out, I would recommend either the Kar98 being number 1 recommended for people newer to sniping, and then sniper number 2 being the AX50. It's really smooth, you can get shots off at close range. You need setup videos for either of those snipers. I do have them on my channel as well. I'll have links to those in the description down below. And then we got tip number 8, and this is don't pull out a red gun whenever you're doing bad. It's one of the worst things you can do, especially on Modern Warfare. In previous Call of Duties, didn't really matter too much, but on Modern Warfare, see, there's skill-based matchmaking. So if you end up pulling out a red gun and then you're dropping, like, you know, multiple VTOLs or high kill streaks, you're gonna end up raising your KD a bunch, and now when you go back to sniping, you're gonna be sniping against a lot of sweaty people. So honestly, it's just better overall in the end if you just don't pull out that red gun unless it's something you like to do, but not just because you're playing bad. All right, and then we got tip number 9, and this is gonna be practice on bots. Trust me, like, I'm sure probably the average person watching this right now has probably already tried practicing on bots, but you want to be using it to your full advantage. It helps a lot more than you know with your muscle memory and everything. If you at least try to practice at least 15 minutes a day on bots, trust me, you'll start getting better and better every day. I do not recommend practicing on bots for too long, because if you practice on them for too long and then go into a public match, it's kind of weird going against people with different movements. So I recommend kind of finding that sweet spot of how much time to practice a day. All right, and then we got tip number 10, learn the rhythm of the sniper you're using. So let's say if you're using a slower bolt action sniper that takes a lot longer in between shots, such as AX50 and HDR being the slowest, it's going to take longer time to find that timing in between shots whenever you got multiple people in front of you. So it's good when you're practicing on bots as well to try and find the timing of the snipers. So pretty much with the HDR or AX50, you're just trying to find that fastest shoot in between times. That way you're able to maximize your potential and get as many kills off as quick as possible. With the MK2 and the Dragunov, like, the rhythm and the timing doesn't matter that much compared to like the slower bolt action time. So all right, and then tip number 10 is going to be time your shots, and you're like, wait, didn't you just talk about timing your shots? No, this is something kind of relative to it, but not the same thing. So with timing your shots, you want to be timing how soon you can shoot with a certain snipe. And this tip applies to like every single sniper as well. So pretty much you're just trying to find the fastest you can shoot after going fully ADS. So on Modern Warfare, I did notice after you can see the center of your crosshair in the scope while aiming down sights, that is when you can shoot and your bullet will go straight, even at long distances. If you happen to not make it to where you can see the center of the crosshair, then if they're close enough to you, your bullet will still go straight enough to kill them as well. So that's just a tip to how to quick scope pretty much. And then tip number 11, we got practice your flick shots and drag scopes. One thing on bots, yeah, you can practice your centering and everything and all that type of stuff, and even your tracking, even though I know a lot of people don't do that on console. But what's going to really matter, especially with sniping when you're practicing on bots, is pay attention to your flick shots and work on improving them. Sure, you can also just like slay out all the bots if that's what you want to do, but if you want to maximize the potential of you practicing on bots within that 15 minutes a day, then you want to be practicing stuff like your flick shots, drag scopes, everything, depending on your sensitivity. Just try to maximize that 15 minutes out of your day. That way you don't feel like you're wasting your time practicing on bots. And then we got tip number 12. This is going to be 1v1 a friend. Maybe you think practicing on bots is boring, or maybe you're just trying to maximize as much as you can practice so you can get more clips online, or just to be better at sniping. But if you want to, you can 1v1 a friend. And doing this, I didn't think it helped me that much. It's never really been, I've always done 1v1s and stuff, but didn't realize it actually kind of helps you get better until I 1v1 my friend for like 3 hours in one day, like 2 weeks ago. I went into public matches and my shot was just so crisp. Same with my playstyle and everything as well. I was just thinking a lot more thoroughly. Helped me out quite a bit. All right, and then we got tip number 13, and this is going to be just simply play more often. A lot of people expect they can get good at sniping within just playing like even only, let's say you're like, yeah, I play every day, but if it's only for an hour, you're not getting in enough time to train your muscle memory to be able to snipe as good as maybe you want to be. Maybe you're not wanting to get that good, so maybe an hour a day is good enough. But if you're wanting to get to the point where you're hitting all these crazy clips and everything, you do got to realize that you do got to put a lot of time into the game just to train your muscle memory to remember all that. So if you're wanting to get that good at sniping, just kind of keep in mind that it is going to take a lot of time. All right, so with that being said, we have tip number 14, and this is going to be train your muscle memory. You can train your muscle memory like so many ways possible, but within specifically just Call of Duty itself for sniping, one thing I like to do to train my muscle memory is when I'm practicing on bots actually, so this kind of goes into that section. I start off kind of slow. So one technique people use outside of Call of Duty to train your muscle memory is they'll start doing something slow, right? Like they could be doing it faster, but to do everything 100% correct, they start out slow, slowly start going faster and faster, and then start to advance themselves with still not making any imperfections. Doing that will just simply train your muscle memory to not mess up with whatever tasks they are doing. So this goes with everything, but within Call of Duty itself. So when you're practicing on bots, start off slower, make sure your shot looks how you want, then start using more movement, start killing more and more faster and faster. And trust me, it's just a little technique that I kind of learned about muscle memory off of a psychology lesson that I've been using. It's not one I've heard around in Call of Duty, but if you want to give it a shot, go for it. It helped me out a ton. It's something I've always done in my warm-up routine. All right, and then we got tip number 15, and this is just going to be learn the bullet velocity and drop-off range. If you haven't really played Ground War or Warzone yet, you maybe haven't noticed there's not too much bullet velocity or drop-off range, but only at very long distances. There's a little bit of bullet drop-off depending on your angle, and there's also bullet velocity, which is the huge one, and that's the amount of time it takes for your bullet to reach the person. So at longer shots, if you're practicing or wanting to learn these sniping tips for Warzone, then I'd suggest just practicing on the Warzone bots or going into Ground War and practicing your snipes. That way you can kind of learn to time your shots better for Warzone. A lot of people have been hopping in Warzone without knowing how the bullet velocity works, and that's going to take so much longer to learn within Warzone instead of just going and practicing it for maybe only 30 minutes to learn the velocity. All right, and then tip number 16 is map awareness. This is going to be something that will also help you get more clips, stay alive longer, all that type of stuff depending on your playstyle. You just want to have knowledge of the map and kind of know how it works, obviously. And also the big thing about it is after you know how the map works, how it's structured and everything, you want to try and predict where people are going to be. So are they going to be around this corner? Do I need to be ready to shoot? Going to be questions you're going to have to ask yourself. So also depending on like what map you're playing or what game mode you're playing, the spawns are going to be different, obviously. So in TDM and all the other game modes besides Hardpoint, the spawns are kind of completely random. It's kind of ridiculous. But if you play Hardpoint, it'll help you be able to predict where the spawns are going to be a lot more easier. There's only certain spawn points on each hill. So if you're the type of person that's sniping to go for clips, then I'd recommend playing Hardpoint to get more clip lineups and be able to predict where people are going to be. And then that way also with knowing where clips people are going to be, you're going to be able to position yourself a lot more better to hit more clips. You want to be positioning yourself where you predict people are going to be, like a whole bunch of them at once. That way you're able to get that feed. All right, and then we got tip number 17, and this is going to be use the right attachments. So for each sniper, there's slightly different attachments, but a lot of them have like the same corresponding attachments that do similar things. So with most of the snipers though, I do try to use the fastest attachments possible. If you want to maximize the attachments as well, one thing is, and honestly I don't know if this is true, this is purely based off my opinion, I haven't gone and like tested it out or anything, but I feel like sleight of hand increases your ADS and also your bolt action speed. So if you're trying to maximize the quickness out of your class, throw on sleight of hand. I have setup videos on those, I'll have those down in the description. But if you don't want to use sleight of hand, throw on focus and it'll give you less flinch. It makes your shot feel more sturdy and a little bit more snappy at long range. All right, and then tip number 18 is going to be use the correct settings. Honestly, I could go in detail about all the settings, but I already have a video on that. Some important things I wanted to throw in about settings though is first of all, make sure you have motion blur and weapon blur turned off. Just don't ask why, just do it, trust me. You'll get better FPS and everything. And then also having a higher high zoom is going to make it so you have less aim assist. So keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what sensitivity you want to use. Keep in mind that the higher you have that high zoom, the less sensitivity it's going to have at close and longer ranges. And also when it comes to your sensitivity though, make sure you're not changing your sensitivity all the time. If you do, that's just going to completely mess with your muscle memory. You're not going to be able to train your muscle memory to one setting, so now you're switching it up and your muscle memory is going to be confused now. So before you choose what sensitivity you even want to play on in the first place, make sure it's going to be one that you want to have maybe 6 months from now, one that still works well with sniping in your playstyle, aggressive, non-aggressive. You got to think about those things. If you're more of an aggressive player, play with a higher high zoom. If you're a less aggressive player, turn down that high zoom. Also depends on your sensitivity though. Just keep that all in mind when you're choosing a sensitivity. Also, another thing you can try when it comes to settings is try no vibration. It helped me. I actually accidentally used vibration for like 3 weeks without noticing it though, and my shot was slightly off and I turned it off and it just felt so much smoother to play without vibration. Like, it sounds weird, but it subconsciously takes away your focus. So if you do want to use vibration, I mean, it's all pure speculation, so you're more than welcome to if it's something you like to use. All right, and then tip number 19 is always keep your thumb on the analog stick when sniping. You really don't want to be taking your thumb off the analog stick, especially where aim is one of the most important things when it comes to sniping. Your accuracy means everything. So if you take your thumb off the analog stick and you got somebody in front of you, now you got to reach back over to it, but they probably already killed you before you could even aim at them. Make sure to keep your thumb on the analog stick as much as possible, and it'll also keep your aim more steady, and you'll also feel like you're more in control. All right, and then tip number 20 is going to be pay to win. So what I mean by this is you can either purchase back paddles or a new scuff controller per se. That way you're able to take your thumb off the analog stick if you don't want to play claw. I play claw currently. I've played claw for about a year now, and honestly, I mean, I recommend it, but also at the same time realize your hand's going to kill if you play claw. But when it comes to back paddles, you do not have to buy a completely expensive controller. You can actually just buy the back paddles for the back of the controller. I'll go on Amazon and I'll find the best and most affordable ones, and I'll put them in the description down below if you want to check them out. And then also you can pay to get control freaks. I use one control freak actually, and yeah, I feel like it's worth it to use a control freak. I see a lot of snipers not using it, but the way I like to think of this and explain it is, imagine a mouse and keyboard player using a mouse pad that's like 6 by 6 inches. They barely got any room to aim. Give them a bigger mouse pad, maybe like the size of this one, and now you've just given them a bunch of room for their aim and they're able to be more precise with their shot. That's just my personal opinion though, and that's like the best way to explain it. Keep in mind, you don't have to get control freaks to have a good shot. It's just something I recommend. I'll have a link down to those down in the description as well if you want to check them out. I'll also link the ones I use. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be it for my 20 sniping tips on Modern Warfare. Let me know if any of these tips or anything did end up helping you out. Also, if there's anything I kind of left out, or if you have any questions on anything, ask me down in the comments as well. Also, I do stream just about every single night on twitch.tv/its_ZEFF. I'll put a link to that down in the description as well. Also, feel free to subscribe and drop a like on the video. It helps me out a lot. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Peace out, guys.